Hello, everyone. Welcome to the She Sessions pod. I'm Mariam, your host.
I'm Rufaro.
And I'm Hadya.
Welcome, guys. It's been a minute, but we're excited. We're here. Always have something very random to talk about and to share. I mean, most of the time we're actually just talking about our daily lives, to be honest. It's kind of nice to see that some of you can actually relate to some of the things that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We see you guys listening. Our following is growing very slowly, but it's still growing, so we're excited. But yeah, today, I don't know. I think the past couple of weeks have just been a little bit stressful for me. So I would like to kind of talk about a little bit of that stress, if you guys allow me.
Definitely take this as a therapy session, if you will.
Oh my God, yeah, we're
It's a
getting
safe
into it.
space.
I mean, before I get into it though, how are you guys, or there anything like special that has happened since the last time we spoke?
I mean, like you said, I'm happy about our following and our Spotify numbers have been growing. And it's kind of fun to see and nice to see because it's so organic. We were talking about it the other day that we don't even put out video content. We don't do much marketing, but you see every day that someone listened and I'm just like, you guys are the OGs. You guys are the day ones, man. Much love to y'all.
Yeah, shout out to the people who are listening to us from Singapore and Colombia.
Like, who are you?
Shout out to you guys and Australia. Shout out to you.
Some of these countries are random. I'm like, Colombia? Ciao.
Yeah.
International.
Yay.
Okay, I mean, for me, what's new? So, I think there's one maybe interesting thing is I started working out again, so I'm back in the gym, which is very interesting. Like, I think it's just been different types of emotions. It's taken me so long. So, for a little bit of context, I would say the last time I was like, actively working out and in the gym and all of that thing was 2020, to be honest. So, like, pandemic hit, and I think my whole kind of rhythm was just, I think I was one of the people that the pandemic really changed a lot of things about my life, right? Like it not affected, but it just changed, right? Because I was like a huge extrovert. I think these days I'm more of like a homebody. Trying to find myself again, but everything is just a bit different. Like I used to work out a lot, loved being in the gym. It was just my thing. But like with the pandemic, all of that changed. For some reason, I could never really get into home workout. I really tried. I always tried, but I always failed. Like I was, once with the Chloe things, with the I was going to say Vera Wang, but that's probably not what her name is. And there's some other chick. Um, yeah, I tried all of those things, but it could just never work. Like the only way I knew how to work out was in the gym, and I had done that for years consistently. So it's kind of nice to be back. And to be honest, the only way I actually got back into it was to get a personal trainer, which is, again, I feel like I keep saying these things and someone's going to think, oh, this girl, she has so much money.
She's so bougie.
Like, personal trainer, honey.
Oh my gosh. No, I really needed the motivation, guys. I really needed motivation because I think some of it was also, like I said, not working out for so long and then being pregnant, having a child. My body had changed a lot, and also I started developing some like health issues based on like being a bit heavier and things like that. So I kind of have to lose some weight and get fit. I'll say get fit more than lose weight, right? um so I just needed like a little bit of extra motivation. So I got on Google and searched to be this is maybe a bit funny. I actually searched black personal trainer in Frankfurt.
LOL.
I don't blame you.
I know. Actually, that was my search, but obviously that didn't bring back anything. So, I have I've had gym membership for almost a year with Fitness First, and to be honest, before now, I think I had been like 3-4 times in total. I've had it for almost a year, so I wasn't using it. So I didn't find anything when I searched Black personal trainer, obviously. But I just checked like in fitness first. What do they like? Do they have personal trainers in house? And might that be cheaper for me? Yeah, and it turned out like I actually found a Nigerian Black personal trainer in fitness first.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was rather interesting. Actually, I found him last year. So I did the search towards the end of last year, so like December. Um, and then I saw this guy and he had like a very Nigerian name. It's like this is really interesting. So I sent him a message and then we spoke. I actually thought I was going to start like, new year, new me. I'm back in the gym. But it didn't work out. Like I only started like in April. So yeah, but it's been interesting. We've done just a few sessions, but he's quite good at what he does, I would say. And it's been nice,
Hmm.
interesting. At least nice to be back in the gym, I would say. What you guys experience with like fitness or anything like that? Is it something you think about? Is it something are you guys like into like working out or Pilates, yoga, anything like that?
Pilates body shotty. Hey.
It's just
That's the Chris Brown song.
I can't with you and your Chris Brown nonsense. Like, sorry, but not sorry. Fitness. Let me tell you something about me. I have this wellness thingy from my employer, right? So basically I have access to over 200 gyms in Germany and in Austria. So it's kind of like even when you're on vacation somewhere else in Germany, not like in Cologne, I can go to the gym. I can go for massages and I don't have to pay much, or some of them I don't
Is
even
it
have to.
e-gym?
No, it's called Well Pass. But
Yeah,
I think
well
it's the
past is
same
e-gym.
concept.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I pay like
Yeah.
20
So it's the same
euro.
it's the same one I have, and that's why I can use fitness first. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that thing. And so, I've had it for
Why don't I have this?
I've had it since January.
Sorry.
But embarrassingly enough, I haven't been to a gym. Not even once. I've been to like a massage or something. And I was like, you know what? I can't just be using this thing for a massage because I'm paying money at the end of the day. They deduct like 20 euro from my paycheck every month. So if I just go for a massage, it's the same as me paying for the massage on my own, right? So I've made it like a personal goal to start working out from like the beginning of May, to start going to the gym on specific days. And so guys, pray for me. I don't know, it motivate me somehow. Unlike Miss Mariam here, I cannot afford a personal trainer, honey. Like I'm just
Oh my god.
Me neither.
We'll get into it. Honestly, I can't afford this, but
I
we'll
just
get
had
into
to.
it.
I just had to. But yeah, man, it's a personal goal for me because also I saw this TikTok the other day and I think it's kind of true. This girl was saying if you reach a certain age and you haven't actively done something about your fitness, or you don't work out, you don't do anything active, you don't go for walks and stuff, if you reach a certain age, it will be very difficult to get back into that mindset of wanting to be active. And I think she'd said like 35 or something, or 30, I don't know. But she said if you reach a certain age, especially as a woman, the way your life just changes, it may be difficult to switch back to the mode of, hey, I need to work out, I need to do this, I need to do that. So when I saw it, I was like, girl, wake up, call, go to the gym. So 1st of May, guys, check out my stories on Instagram. I'll be posted. I'll be going to the gym. I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, girl. Well, all the best on your journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I would say that kind of like you, Mariam, before Corona, I was more active, I would say. And then when the pandemic hit and everything closed down and the gyms as well, obviously I couldn't go anymore. And I also tried the home workout thing, didn't work. And so during Corona, I actually gained like weight, which was kind of funny for me because was really skinny like most of my life. Like not the nice kind of skinny, like the ugly kind of skinny, you know?
What the
And
heck
Not
does
so
that
true.
mean?
Not true. Not true.
no, it is true. It's really true. Like I was
You had
really
a nice
thin.
no. You've always had a nice physique. So I'm just
I
going
mean,
to say
thank
that.
you. But then before that, like I think when I was even younger, I was really like just really weird kind of skinny. So me gaining weight during the pandemic, I was kind of happy about it. You know, I was like, okay, I'm like gaining a bit of weight. This is not bad. But I think towards like the end of the pandemic, I started to feel very round. Like everything was just round. And so, yeah. And I also just felt like just very unhealthy physically, to be honest, because, you know, in my workplace, I sit the whole entire day in front of a computer, just very kind of idle lifestyle. And so I recently also decided that I had to just get back into it, get back into the groove of things. And so I resubscribed to a gym. I've been going for a couple of months now. Not not as often as I would want to, but it's still a good start. And for me, I kind of get bored with kind of using, you know, the machinery and all of that. I prefer to do classes. And I really love Zumba. Like I love Zumba workouts. It's kind of like release all the negative energy, you know, through dance.
Quick one. Is it? You just reminded me of the story you told us in one episode in season 1 where you were like this lady in a Zumba class.
Oh my God.
Spewing the N-word.
Yeah, it's not the Zumba lady, thank God. The Zumba lady, like she uses like really nice music. That was like another kind of weightlifting class and hardcore. I think that's why she used her hip hop, but not an excuse.
The N-word.
But anyways, it's yeah. But the Zumba classes are really nice. Like I like those. And so yeah, I mean, I wish I could do more. I want to feel stronger and fitter, especially at the top of my body. But we'll get there, I think, if I try harder. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's interesting that it's like kind of like the similar experience for all of us, basically. Like, you know, first of all, it's the most difficult thing is motivating yourself. I think this is one thing in every aspect of life, not just like workout. Like, you know, I want to start this business, I want to do this. Like, the most difficult thing is actually motivating yourself. I think this is why I kind of like collaborations and partnering with people. Because if I had to do it all by myself, it just wouldn't get done. Right. And
just like this podcast.
for me, I think I always just need that one thing that builds me. So like in this case with the fitness thing, I know like obviously I'm not blind, right? And obviously I see what I see when I get on the scale. Especially like since I had IO, uh, you know, my whole body has changed basically. I've never been unlike Hadya, I've never been like super okay, I can't say never. I think there was just a small phase of my life where I was like slightly, you know, on the skinnier side, but I've never really been skinny because I'm more on like the curvy side. But also I've never really been considered like overweight or like fat or anything like that. I don't even know if I can use the word fat, but let's say overweight. Um, but yeah, like obviously since having IO, it's just so different. Like the numbers I see on the scale are just crazy. Like I'm like, people weigh this much in life. You know, you're like, this is insane. it's it's insane. And yeah, it's one of those things where it doesn't affect me as much as I thought it would. Because like obviously growing up, being a teenager, like I said, I was always, you know, a bit heavier than most people. Yeah, again, if you're curvy, it's just what it is, right? But it sometimes made me like self-conscious. Like all I ever wanted to be when I was like really young was skinny. And then you get to university and you realize, oh, you know, this is actually like a good thing that I'm like this, you know. Um, it's like not the worst thing. People are actually like attracted to this, whatever. So then it was kind of cute, to be on the curvier side. But again, when I say curvy, I don't know, 'cause everything gets like, because when I get on ASOS and they say curvy, it's very different from what I'm describing about myself. But I just mean like, you know, more of like, you know, wider hip, you know, smaller waistline, things like that. That's what I'm referring to. Um, But yeah, so just kind of seeing where I'm at now versus where, I used to be. It's a bit crazy, but I think life is also so busy that I just couldn't be bothered, right? And yeah, obviously, and I don't know how it is for you guys, but my mom, like, she would always like try to throw in a comment here and there,
Oh my
about
God,
like
same.
you need to, kind of fix yourself. You can't just be like this because you've had one child, things like that. Again, I think it comes from a good place, obviously.
But still, I don't want to
Um,
hear it. Like,
but I mean, it is what it is. Like, I think most, if I let most
African
people,
parents.
sorry,
I said
African
African
parents, right?
parents.
I know,
Yeah, they
right?
can't. I don't think they can help themselves. And my mom isn't even like one of the really crazy ones, but she still couldn't like help it. Like, she would just try to throw it in there, like, hey, you should do
Mm.
this. I'm like, okay, I will. Anyways, bless God, now we're here, right? I think I just also wanted to like talk about also like growing up and then getting to the age group that we're in now. I don't know if Rufaro is in the same age group as we are, but
Of course.
for
She's
the
Come
sake of
on, you
like
guys.
conversation,
two steps,
You guys
behind.
are not.
oh my God,
You guys are my
for the
ops.
sake,
Like, I swear. We are literally all millennials here. What are you talking about?
are you really, you're like the last one, like last year before it's Gen
Actually,
Z, right?
literally. Last born
Okay.
millennial. On other sites, I'm actually Gen Z, but I ignore those. I'm like, F y'all. But okay.
All right. Then for the sake of conversation, we're all in the same age, right? So when you get to a certain, like, I think like you were saying, Rufaro, about like, first of all, your body changes. I think that's the first thing. Your body
Mm-hmm.
changes, your metabolism changes. So before I feel like I gained weight somewhat easily, but I also lost it somewhat easily as well. But now it's like, obviously, you just sit there, right? And you just like the little things I could do to lose the weight. I feel like now I have to do like 4 times that to lose even just like half of what I could lose before. But then also like it's just like growing up and then all this like health things creeping up on you as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys have anything like that. It's like something that, it's like with female reproductive health that is like coming up, or like some people already have like blood pressure problems and things like that. You guys have anything like that that has happened to you in the past couple of years that you might want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the older one, so I guess if anything has caught up with anyone, it would be me.
I mean, you just had to go there.
But it is kind of true. I mean, with the weight thing, I would say I feel the same thing. I feel like before, if I gained weight, it would go away very easily if I just like took a walk,
Yeah.
But now it's super hard. Like I'll have to work really hard to lose that 1 or 2 kg. Yeah, but in terms of other things, reproductive health, I mean, I don't really know how I'm doing reproductive wise. I don't know. But if we're going to talk about the menstrual cycle, for example,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, I've definitely noticed changes with age because, for example, something that I like had really painful periods my whole life and it would just be physical pain. But now with age, the psychological kind of effects have become something insane, which I didn't really have when I was younger. So when I was younger, I'd just like, roll on the floor, vomit, I would go crazy. Yeah. But now it's manifested into this psychological, almost craziness. I really don't know how to describe it, but it starts like maybe sometimes 2 weeks before my period. If I'm lucky, it will just be 10 days before my period. And I just have extreme mood swings, just crazy thoughts that are out of control. And I don't know, I really think it's an age thing because like I said, I didn't have that when I was younger. Yeah, I don't know about anything other physically. I think that's the main thing. Oh, and all of my hair is turning gray, if that counts.
Oh my God.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
You just had to, like, I don't
But
know,
I think
with
that's
me,
also genetic, so yeah.
I was actually going to go into genetics. I was going to say for me, it's weight on its own has been an issue my whole life because for some weird reason, I bloomed late. I remember being in high school. I think I bloomed like fully at like 14. I even got my first period at 14. Speaking of, we're going to have to put a disclaimer at the beginning of this episode for people who are not comfortable with this kind of talk. But if you are one of those people, I'm judging you because why? Anyway, at 14, that's when I got my first period. That's when my body actually changed. So for me, I went from being girl to woman literally in a short space of time, and I was in boarding school, right? So I remember just going from school, going back home for my holiday, and all my clothes couldn't fit. So it had, from that time until, I can't fully say that I have worked through everything, that I'm fully comfortable in my skin and whatever, but it has been a turmoil of like emotions. It has just been things changing, you know, because before that, I was this skinny, like little skinny girl. No boob in sight, no curve in sight, nothing. And literally, like in a flip of a switch, everything just came, and it came in full force, right? And it came with its own weird things that I would talk about in another episode if we ever talk about this again. But it just altered my mental health so weirdly, such that I never had a good relationship with my body. I felt like I was fat my whole life. Also because when we grew up, the time we grew up, even though you guys don't want to count me in your age bracket, but you can relate to this. When we grew up, being skinny was a beauty standard, right? It's only now that I'm starting to be comfortable in my skin because I'm like, oh, okay, actually being curvy is now the thing. Okay. But at some point when we actually needed this movement or whatever you may call it, it wasn't there. So I felt ugly for the most part. I felt fat. I felt weird. And not to talk about the acne that came with it. Each time my period would come, I would know it's about to come because my face would just break out, like, you know, the whole thing. And I'm talking about those pimples that are under the skin and they're just painful, that kind of thing.
Those are the worst.
It's almost like the whole, so for the cycle bit of things, it's almost as if for the better part of my life, my cycle would just affect me literally the whole month. Kind of like what you were saying, Hadya. Like, because for me, if you tell me I'm starting to feel my period 2 weeks before it comes, it means those 2 weeks I messed up. The week of it, I messed up. And what? I only have a week to rest? Come on, that's so. It
Not
also
fair.
came with that. So it would mean, obviously, physically, I feel ugly because of the pimples and whatever. And emotionally, I'm just drained. And then the pain. So it would just be a thing that gradually with age, unlike what you just described, for me, with age, things became better. So my cycle, for example, things just went from being the worst I could imagine to being better. Even my pain nowadays, it's much better. Like I can feel like warning pangs of period pains at least 2 or 3 days before it actually comes. But back then it would be like you were saying 2 weeks before I'm already feeling my contractions of like, oh, we are about to visit you. And yeah, and I kind of like it, but also due to me manipulating my cycle here and there, it's also been, quite a ride. But I haven't figured it out yet. But I thank God that I don't suffer from things like PCOS. I see a lot of people online talking about it. And I thank God that I don't suffer from such issues because when I see people, I'm on the verge of crying because I'm just like, how is it that being a woman is this stressful? So I thank God every day and I just pray it remains like that. But yeah, we have it hard as women generally, and it's sad.
We do.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with what you've said, and we have a hard part. I think can't even be like stressed enough. Yeah, I want to like maybe get into mine a little bit. So for me, sorry, you mentioned PCOS and it was so funny. For a long time, I've actually thought that I might have PCOS because I think I have some symptoms. But nothing like dramatic has also happened. So I think some people that they have PCOS have like very like serious like period pains and things like that. I've never had that before. But there's some other things that I feel like, okay, this isn't completely normal. And we'll get to that maybe in another episode. But I'll talk about like maybe some of the changes for me since like being, becoming a mom. Obviously the first obvious thing is like the when my body changed to like gaining weight. And also not I don't want to say not losing it because I don't think I've done so much to try to lose it in the time. I'm just trying now, so let's see how that goes. But like gaining weight, but then also some of the things that came with it. So last year I had some, I'll say, minor issues like with my I don't know what to call it, midsection. So it's not just my tummy, but like things in that area, right? And a lot of it had to do with like some of the extra weight that I gained from being pregnant. And you know, when you're like, this is absolutely ridiculous because like it just happens, like, right? If you're going to have a baby, for the most part, most people would gain some weight,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how come like mine is like so different? To the point where, it's now like affecting my health and have to start like taking care of things like that. So they're just those little things, hormonally, that just happen and you have no idea. And I think that's the part that is so, interesting. Is like you actually have no idea that these changes are gonna come, but you just see people have kids and, you know, they just move on with life. I mean, you know that the body will change a bit, but you actually don't know just how much. Like I've heard like really crazy things. Some people actually like start to lose their eyesight after having kids.
Mm, I've heard
Just yeah,
of
some
that.
really like dramatic things, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, what's also interesting is how things like that are managed here, because I think definitely there's some differences between like us Black women, going through this process, and then, what happens to white women. Not saying nothing happens to them. They also probably have things that they go through. Not something that I know about, but, you know, not all, in my experience, right? So I've had in this period 2 gynecologists, but not all of them can actually properly manage. And this was my experience that made it so frustrating for me. So my first gynecologist, that was the one that went through my pregnancy with me.
Mm.
It was horrible to say the least,
Oh
right? So
my
even like
God.
just the process of being pregnant was like really stressful, because communication was so poor. There was very little empathy. That's
Mm.
another thing, right? So there was just very little empathy. So imagine like me going through my first pregnancy, having some, in some cases I actually did have some complications. But you can't actually like properly communicate or talk to this person because there's just no empathy. It's kind of like a brick wall
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, okay, yes, no. And sometimes you just kind of want someone to, feel a little bit of what you're feeling and at least try to, show some emotions, but I didn't get that at all.
Mm.
And in that case, the gynecologist was German, whereas now I'm with someone else and the experience is so different, right? And she's not originally German, and it's just so much different, right? Like we can actually can actually communicate. So now that I'm dealing with some of the aftermath of being pregnant and some of the complications, it's just so much, at least I know that, you kind of feel someone is actually taking time to pay attention,
Mm.
right? And not just looking at you like you're whining or complaining, which was kind of the feeling I got from the old gynecologist. But she's more like, more attentive. And then sometimes she would actually ask, and it makes all the difference. She'll be like, "Are you okay?" Right? And just those 3 words, it just makes such a huge difference in
Mm.
like, how how you feel and stuff. So I think these are some of the things that I feel like I've struggled with being here. I wonder, again, I'm not saying it's going to be much better if I was in Nigeria, but I do wonder if it would all be so much better and so much easier, right? Because like you guys said, there's the mental health part of it as well. Because sometimes you just feel so alone, um with some of these issues, right? Because nobody else is going through with it.
I kind of want to add to what you said about your gynecologist, because funny enough, I had the exact same experience, but fortunately for me, it wasn't like frequent visits to them, because unlike for you, it was during pregnancy. Those are more frequent. For me, it would just be the general checkups and the whatnot. At first I had a male gynecologist. I'm actually curious to know how you guys feel about male gynecologist in a bit. The male guy, he was just so weird. He was a male German, white German guy. Just weird. The whole feeling of it was just so uncomfortable. I'm like, TMI, I'm sorry, TMI guys, but you are actually putting that metal thing into me, and that whole time you're maintaining like eye contact that's not even warm. It was just weird. And he would make weird comments, which made me question him a bit. So I left him and I moved to a female.
Wait, I need to know more. I need to know more about the weird comments. Like what?
Sometimes he would comment on my body, like how my curves are actually more suited for childbirth and stuff like that.
What?
So yeah, I mean, he would say. The other time he said it in such a he said it in such a way like it was supposed to be educational, right? To say women with curvier hips or with wider hips, like that whole myth. I don't know, maybe it's a thing. I think it is a thing, right? But why are you telling me that? Like,
yeah, it's an unnecessary comment.
Because I didn't. At no point during that whole consultation did I express wanting to have kids or anything about pregnancy. He just had to put the comment out there as a FYI or did you know type of situation. So I was just like, and I mean, it was also these little, I don't want to call them microaggressions, but like these micro annoying questions about where I'm from, I just felt uncomfortable at the end of the day. And the fact that you're a man, it wasn't doing it for me. So I left him, moved to a female white German gynecologist. She was also just very serious about everything and just so cold, I can say. But now I'm with a foreign gynecologist. She's actually Iranian. Shout out to my gynecologist. She just makes everything so comfortable. She will be talking to me about actually her experience. The other day, she's like doing that boob check thingy. And I mean, she's still maintaining eye contact. And I'm like, it was supposed to be uncomfortable because I'm like, dude, you're touching my boobs, you're squeezing my boobs. But she was actually telling me about her experience at med school and how she opened up her praxis and stuff. And I was just like, she makes everything so comfortable. She's just really, really nice. And like you said, this thing of being asked, how are you doing? It makes such a great difference because it's not just about, hey, open up for me, I'm going in or I'm touching you up.
Yeah.
You actually want to know, has anything changed since the last time you were here? Or the other time she was actually low-key scolding me. She was like, you haven't been here in like ages. Where have you been? What if something happened? Like a caring mother type of vibe. And ever since my experience with this woman, I'm slowly changing all my doctors to people who have like a immigration background type thing, because I've also seen it online. People say the same thing. So I know we're not tripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, funny enough about the male gynecologist, so my dad is actually a gynecologist, you guys. I mean, he's retired now, but
I have questions but then he's for male gynecologists.
Well, I mean, I have to say that he's never like done a checkup on me, obviously. But growing up, funny enough, whenever I had like issues with my period and all of that, I never spoke to him directly when I was younger. So I would always like talk to my mom and then my mom would go and talk to him. And she would come back and talk to me. It was like, it was always like that. It's only after, I've become an adult that, I talk to him directly about my issues. But in terms of going to a gynecologist here in Germany, I've had one, the same person. She's a lady and she's German. And honestly, my experience with her has been okay. Like, I don't feel like it's been bad. She seems like empathetic and she's easy to talk to. She listens. Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said to you, like I told you guys, I used to suffer from really, really bad period pains. I still have them, but they're not as excruciating as they used to be. And that was the main reason I decided to go and see a gynecologist. And yeah, I think I mentioned before that I had an operation in 2020, and it was because of this whole excruciating period pain. So I had a laparoscopy because they were suspecting that I had endometriosis. And yeah, I mean, long story short, they did diagnose me with endometriosis. They diagnosed me with adenomyosis. That's another thing, which is like enlargement of the uterus, blah, blah, blah. You guys can go and search about it if you want. But
I'm definitely gonna.
long story short, yeah, I mean, I ended up like, I feel like the operation helped. I did end up getting some medication afterwards for it, which helped me for about 2 years, but doesn't work anymore. So that's something. And now I'm kind of just like winging it, to be honest. Like I said, the pain isn't as bad. It's just the psychological effects of it. But yeah, I mean, a discussion I was having with some friends about this whole like female organs, reproductive system. It feels like medicine is not really as advanced as it should be in that area. And if you read about it, they do say that research is a bit behind. And that's why even when we have issues, they might diagnose you, but they might not really find a proper solution or proper whatever medication for you. And I think that's what happened with me, because the medication I was taking, which was basically kind of, it suppresses your period. So this is TMI, but yeah, I mean, it kind of ended up, it was specifically for endometriosis. That was the name of it. But it kind of stopped my period. So for like 2 years, I wasn't having my periods, and it was like bliss. It was heaven. And then after that, for whatever reason, I started just bleeding all the time, and it wouldn't stop. So the medication kind of just stopped working. And so I feel like when I say that medicine is not, they haven't really figured out how to fix these issues, that's what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. That's my experience. I'm blabbering. What do you guys
But you know what?
say?
If these problems were on men, there would be drugs, there would be procedures to take care of these things. If these things were on men, you wouldn't have to go to the gynecologist and talk about birth control, and the only thing they will push down your throat is the pill. It wouldn't happen like that. I promise you. So I'm sorry, I'm going to go there, but patriarchy really F's us all.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're having
Yeah,
this conversation, man, because I feel like these things are such a taboo, and I don't like it, because there are so many people suffering with different things out there that just don't feel like they have the voice or the platforms to even talk about their issues. So I'm really glad we're talking about this. So if you're listening and you're pissed off that we're talking about periods and bleeding and whatnot,
yeah,
you need to check yourself.
I mean, it is a really sensitive topic, to be honest. And for me, even to like talk about my own experience out loud, it feels a bit weird. I normally I'm not comfortable talking about it because it feels very private, and personal. But I feel like it's something that, like you said, it should be spoken about. And so other women who are going through the same thing know that they're not alone. And these things, they don't always like mean the end. So for example, like finding these things early on, treating them, being aware of them is good, because if you one day, want to have a child, it would help to actually know about these things. And yeah, like lots of women who have endometriosis, they had adenomyosis, they still end up having children. So it's not the end of the world.
And also, a lot of people, I have a friend of mine who thinks like this as well. I need to tell someone, if you're listening to this and this applies to you, just because you're not sexually active does not mean you don't need to go see a gynecologist. If you have the means and the possibility to see a gynecologist regularly, please do it. Even if you are still a virgin, you haven't engaged in sexual activities, even if you are celibate or you haven't engaged in a while, still you need to go for these controls, for these whatever they're called, just do it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that part is really interesting. I remember when just a few years ago, right, when I was slightly younger, and like some of my friends would, I would be talking about going to gynecologist, and some of my friends would say they've never been or they hadn't been or something. It was so interesting to me because I think my mom had been taking me to one since I was like 15 or
Mm-hmm.
something, or 17. Again, I did have, even when I was younger, maybe one or two issues here and there, nothing major, but like I've always gone since I was like really young. So I found it really interesting. But yeah, I think what Rufaro said really, really important. You need to go for your cancer check. Like they always check like every 6 months for ovarian cancer, I think for women. And I think it's really, really important to just know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and anything else. And like Hadya said, it's scary to find things. Trust me, like it's the scariest thing, and it can feel so isolating. But
Mm.
it's better to find them anyway. It's better to know and like get on treatment and get better than to not know. This is kind of my own experience, and things are always just start to feel better once you start taking treatment, and you just know, okay, it's probably going to end. Maybe it will get worse. I don't know, but at least you're getting help and things. So, and I think I also wanted to add for the experience in Germany, just do what Rufaro did, right? If you're not comfortable, search for someone else and try, right? And I think that was the one major mistake I made during my pregnancy that I really regret. For some reason, I ended up staying with this one person till the end. And then I ended up having some complications like around birth of my child, which I think would have really been avoided if I had someone that paid more attention.
Mm.
So don't feel forced. I know sometimes it's not so easy to get like an appointment in Germany. Everything is such a hassle. But don't say, because there's so many. For me, I just had this thing of, if I'm having another child, I'd rather have the child in Nigeria, and that kind of was how I was resigned, because the experience was just so horrible. But now being with this other person, and it's just like, this is so different and this is so nice, and I wish I was bold enough to like change back then, right? So I would also say, please, if you're with someone that's weird and you're going to meet weird people,
Oh, definitely.
just look for someone else. It might take
Yeah,
a
for
while.
sure.
Again, if you're not like, you know, if it's not like an emergency, just try to find someone else. It might take a while, but it will just give you, that peace of mind that you actually need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm like Hadya said, some of these things are so difficult to talk about. Like, you can see, I can't really get into some of my things because for me, it's still so difficult to talk about them. But maybe one day, maybe in another episode, we'll get into more details.
Yeah. Take your time, girl. But I'm glad we're having this conversation. I'm glad.
Yeah. I mean, it was so heavy and nice at the same time. But yeah, I think it's relevant at the end of the day, and especially being in a place where most people aren't predominantly black, and we have our own issues. Sometimes there's just that lack of information or education or miseducation, I
Mm.
don't know, of some of these health practitioners. It's good that we actually share our experiences so it helps someone. I think this is how I see it.
Also, just to plug this guy, if I find him on TikTok, we will link the account on the description. But there's this white German gynecologist male on TikTok. His main focus with his account is to call out the racism in gynecology, and he actually
Interesting.
recognizes that there is racism and discrimination in gynecology. So if you've had any experience where you felt like you're being gaslighted or where you felt like this is racist, maybe it's actually a real thing. So if you feel the need to talk about it, talk to us or follow this guy, and whatever you need to just know that you're not alone. It's a real thing.
I'd like to see this guy, hear what he has to say
I'll
too.
definitely check him out. I'll definitely
Yeah.
look for him.
All right. I think this was a nice conversation, guys. And if you're just listening to us for the first time, welcome, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. You can follow us on social media at the She Sessions Pod. I feel like this has become such a tongue twister for all of us now. Follow us at the She Sessions Pod on all social media platforms. Like and subscribe to our Spotify and YouTube. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.